The old cargo ship drifted through the darkness of space like a piece of floating junk. Its name, Soul's Pride, was painted in faded letters on the side. The metal hull looked beaten up and patched in many places. Rust stains marked where repairs had been made over the years. To anyone watching, it looked like just another worn-out trade ship trying to make money in the outer rim of the galaxy. Captain Day-Wan sat in his pilot chair, watching the stars through the front window. He was a quiet man with steady hands and sharp eyes. His black hair was starting to show gray at the edges, and his face had the weathered look of someone who had spent many years in space. He wore a simple blue jumpsuit like any other cargo ship captain might wear. "How are we looking, Bo-Ra?" Day-Wan asked his chief engineer. Bo-Ra looked up from her control panel. She was a small woman with quick fingers and an even quicker mind. Her dark hair was tied back in a simple ponytail, and oil stains marked her work clothes. "The engines are running smooth, Captain. All systems show normal readings," she said with a slight smile. "At least, that's what anyone scanning us would see." Day-Wan nodded. The other crew members were at their stations around the small bridge. Taemin sat at the weapons console, though it looked like a simple navigation computer to outside eyes. He was young and eager, with the build of someone who stayed in fighting shape. His fingers moved over controls that seemed to do nothing important. Shai-Jin worked at what appeared to be a basic star chart display. She was the navigator, but her equipment was far more advanced than it looked. Her calm face never showed the complex calculations she was always running in her head. Next to her, Wu-Jin monitored communications. He was thin and quiet, with large eyes that missed nothing. His equipment could hear radio signals from halfway across the galaxy, but it looked like old trade ship gear. "Any word from home?" Day-Wan asked Wu-Jin. "All quiet on the channels, Captain. No new orders." "We stick to the plan," Wu-Jin replied, in his soft voice. The plan was simple. Look like a harmless cargo ship. Travel the trade routes. Watch and wait. The Soul's Pride had been doing this for 2 years now, and they were very good at it. Other ships passed them by without a second look. Port authorities waved them through with basic scans. Pirates ignored them because they looked too poor to be worth the trouble. But today felt different. "Contact on long-range sensors," Hyejin announced, her voice staying calm. "Big contact. Actually, lots of big contacts." Day-Wan leaned forward. "How many?" "I count over 300 ships, Captain. They're moving in formation. Military formation." Hyejin's fingers danced over her controls. "They're Vorthak Empire vessels." The mood on the bridge changed instantly. Everyone knew about the Vorthak Empire. They were one of the strongest military forces in this part of the galaxy. They had conquered 17 different alien races in the past 100 years. Their ships were huge, heavily armed, and crewed by warriors who showed no mercy. "They've seen us," Wu-Jin reported. "We're getting scanned, deep scans." Day-Wan stayed calm. "Let them scan. That's what we want." He turned to his crew. "Everyone remember your jobs. We're just a simple cargo ship with nothing to hide." The Vorthak fleet was impressive to see. The largest ships were over 2 miles long, covered in weapon turrets and armor plating. Smaller escort ships buzzed around them like angry insects. Energy shields shimmered around each vessel. This was a fleet built for war and conquest. Admiral Krextal commanded the fleet from his flagship. He was a typical Vorthak, 8 feet, tall, covered in thick gray skin, with 4 arms and eyes like black stones. Scars from old battles marked his face and arms. He had led fleets like this one in 7 successful invasions. To him, war was a simple matter of bringing more firepower than the enemy. "Report," Krextal growled to his sensor officer. "Single vessel detected, Admiral. Appears to be a human cargo ship. Old design, minimal armament, low energy output. It's not even trying to run." Krextal made a sound like a laugh. Humans were still new to space travel compared to most races. They had only achieved faster than light flight about 50 years ago. Most Vorthak considered them a minor species, not worth serious attention. Their technology was basic, their military was small, and they seemed more interested in trade than conquest. "Humans," Krextal said with disgust. "Send the bone cleaver to deal with it. Tell Commander Yexmore to make it quick. We have more important targets to reach." The Bone Cleaver was a destroyer, smaller than the main battleships but still massive compared to the human cargo vessel. It broke away from the main fleet and headed toward the Soul's Pride. Its weapons were already powering up. Back on the human ship, Wu Jin was listening to the Vorthak radio chatter. "One destroyer coming our way, Captain. They're treating us like a minor annoyance." "Perfect," Daewon said quietly. "Bo-Ra, how are our special systems?" "All green, Captain. The reactor is stable, the disguise systems are working perfectly, and our main batteries are charged and ready. They have no idea what they're really looking at." Taemin cracked his knuckles. "About time we got some action. I was getting bored pretending to be a cargo hauler." "Patience," Daewon told him. "Let them get close, let them feel confident. The closer they come, the bigger the surprise." The Bone Cleaver approached slowly, its captain sure of an easy victory. Commander Yexmore had destroyed dozens of small ships in his career. This would be no different. His crew was already talking about what supplies they might take from the human vessel after they disabled it. "Send them the standard message," Yexmore ordered. The communication came through on the Soul's Pride's radio. Wu Jin translated the harsh Vorthak language. "They're ordering us to stop, prepare for boarding, and surrender all cargo. If we resist, they'll destroy us." Daewon picked up the radio transmitter. He spoke in clear, simple English, knowing the Vorthak computers would translate it. "This is Captain Daewon of the cargo vessel Soul's Pride. We decline your offer." The simple reply puzzled the Vorthak. Most ships either surrendered immediately or tried to run. This human captain sounded almost amused. "They're still coming," Heejin reported. "Range decreasing. They'll be in optimal firing position in 2 minutes. Let them come," Daewon said. His crew was ready. They had trained for this moment for years. Each of them was a specialist, chosen for skills that went far beyond simple cargo hauling. They were soldiers pretending to be merchants, predators disguised as prey. The Soul's Pride drifted in space looking helpless and weak. Its old hull gleamed dully in the starlight. Its engines puttered along at low power. Its weapon system showed as nothing more than basic defensive gear. To the approaching Vorthak destroyer, it looked like the easiest target they had ever seen. But looks could be very deceiving. 1 minute to optimal range, Heejin announced. Daewon smiled for the first time since the Vorthak fleet had appeared. "Taemin, are you ready to show our new friends what Earth engineering can really do?" "More than ready, Captain." "Bo-Ra, bring our real systems online. It's time to drop the act." "With pleasure, Captain." The old cargo ship began to change. Panels that looked like rust stains started to slide away. What appeared to be cargo containers began to fold and retract. The ship's true shape began to emerge from beneath its disguise. The Vorthak were about to learn that humans could be very good at hiding their true nature. They were also about to discover that sometimes the weakest-looking prey turned out to be the most dangerous predator. The Soul's Pride moved like nothing the Vorthak had ever seen before. As the 12 heavy cruisers fired their massive weapons, the human ship seemed to dance between the energy beams. It twisted and spun through space, avoiding plasma blasts that should have been impossible to dodge. "How is it moving like that?" the squadron commander shouted. "No ship that size should be able to turn so fast." Navigator Heejin sat at her controls, her hands moving faster than the eye could follow. Her brain had been enhanced with quantum, computers that let her calculate thousands of flight paths at once. She could see where every enemy shot would be before it was even fired. "Incoming plasma burst from Cruiser 4, she called out calmly. "Rolling left in 3, 2, 1. The Soul's Pride spun away from a blast that would have vaporized any normal ship. The plasma beam shot through empty space where they had been a split second before. "Nice flying," Taemin said, his fingers dancing over his weapon controls. "Now let's show them what real firepower looks like." The human ship's weapons were unlike anything the Vorthak understood. Instead of simple energy beams or basic missiles, the Soul's Pride fired smart weapons that learned as they flew. Each missile studied its target, found the weakest spots, and adapted its attack pattern. The first wave of missiles hit 3 different cruisers at the same time. But these weren't random strikes. Each missile had analyzed the Vorthak shield systems. and found exactly the right frequency to penetrate them. The explosions tore through armor that was supposed to be nearly indestructible. Impossible! Admiral Krextal watched from his flagship as one of his heavy cruisers suddenly lost all power. Those missiles went right through our shields like they weren't there. Sir, the human weapons seem to be adapting to our defenses, his science officer reported. Each shot is more effective than the last. On the Soul's Pride, Bora monitored their advanced reactor. The technology came from ruins humans had found on an ancient world. No one knew who had built the original machines, but human engineers had learned to copy and improve them. Power levels holding steady, Captain, she reported. The adaptive weapons are working perfectly. Each shot teaches us more about their weaknesses. The Vorthak squadron tried to surround the human ship, but it was like trying to catch smoke. The Soul's Pride would appear in one spot, fire a devastating volley, then vanish before return fire could reach it. Their stealth systems bent light and energy around the ship, making it nearly invisible. Captain Day-Wan studied the tactical display, watching how the enemy ships moved. They're following their training manual exactly, he said. Formation Delta 7, just like we expected. Taman, target their command ship first, cut off the head and the body dies. Target locked, Taman replied, firing gravity torpedoes. The gravity torpedoes were humanity's most secret weapon. They didn't just explode, they created tiny black holes that lasted for a few seconds. The gravitational forces could crush even the strongest armor. The torpedo struck the squadron command cruiser right in its center. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then space itself seemed to collapse around the ship. The massive vessel was squeezed like a tin can, its hull crumpling inward until it imploded completely. Command ship destroyed, He-Jin reported. The other ships are breaking formation. Without their leader, the Vorthak squadron fell apart. Some ships tried to retreat. Others attacked wildly without coordination. A few froze in place, their crews too shocked to react. The Soul's Pride moved through them like a shark among minnows. Each attack was precise and deadly. The human crew worked together perfectly, each member knowing exactly what the others would do. Wu Jin intercepted panicked radio messages from the Vorthak ships. They're calling for help, he translated. Some are trying to surrender. No surrender, Day-Wan said firmly. They never gave that option to the species they conquered. Today they learn what it feels like to be hunted. One by one, the heavy cruisers fell. The Soul's Pride used different weapons on each target, testing new technologies and gathering data. Some ships were destroyed by energy beams that cut through them like knives. Others fell to swarms of micro-missiles that ate through their hulls like metal-eating insects. The largest cruiser tried to ram the human ship in a desperate suicide attack. He-Jin saw it coming long before impact and sent the Soul's Pride spinning away. As the massive Vorthak ship flew past, Taman fired a single shot into its engine core. The explosion lit up space for miles around. In 23 minutes, all 12 heavy cruisers were destroyed or disabled. The Soul's Pride had barely been scratched. Not one enemy shot had managed to hit them directly. Admiral Krextal stared at his tactical screen in complete disbelief. An entire squadron, his best ships and crews, had been wiped out by a single human vessel. It was impossible. It was unthinkable. It was humiliating. How many ships do we have left? He asked his bridge crew. 374 vessels, Admiral, came the quiet reply. And how many human ships are we fighting? One, sir, just one. Krextal felt something he had never experienced before in his long military career. Fear. Not fear of death. He was a warrior and had faced that many times. This was fear of the unknown. Fear of facing an enemy he didn't understand. Sir, what are your orders? His second-in-command asked. Krextal looked at the tactical display again. One small human ship sat in the middle of a debris field that had once been his proudest squadron. The vessel looked almost peaceful now, floating quietly among the wreckage of ships that had been 10 times its size. Signal the entire fleet, Krextal said slowly. All ships are to converge on the human vessel. Every ship, every weapon. I want that thing destroyed if we have to ram it with the entire Third Fleet. Sir, are you sure? That's nearly 400. Ships against one. Did you see what happened to Squadron 7? Krextall roared. 12 of our best ships destroyed in 20 minutes. This isn't a normal enemy. This isn't even a normal human ship. Signal all vessels, maximum firepower, no holding back. On the Soul's Pride, Wu Jin picked up the fleet-wide communications. Captain, they're mobilizing everything. All 374 remaining ships are moving to attack us. Bora checked their systems. We've used about 15% of our total power, Captain. The reactor can handle much more, but we'll need to be careful with the advanced weapons. He Jin plotted courses for all the approaching enemy ships. They're coming from every direction. No way to avoid them all. Taemin cracked his knuckles and smiled. Finally, a real challenge. Captain Daewon stood up from his chair and walked to the main viewing screen. Outside, he could see the lights of hundreds of enemy ships moving toward them like angry stars. Each ship carried enough firepower to level a city. Together, they represented one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. Gentlemen, lady, he said to his crew, we always knew this moment would come. Earth sent us here to send a message to the galaxy. Today, the Vorthak Empire learns that humanity is not prey. We are predators. And it's time they learned what happens when predators get angry. He returned to his chair and activated the ship's combat systems to full power. Deep in the ship's core, the exotic matter reactor began to hum with barely contained energy. Weapon systems that had never been used at full capacity came online. Stealth fields that could hide them from an entire fleet activated. All stations. Report ready, Captain, Bora announced. Then let's show them why Earth survived first contact with the galaxy, Daewon said. Begin the hunt. The Soul's Pride vanished from all sensors as its stealth systems engaged. Somewhere in the darkness, between the stars, a predator was loose among nearly 400 unsuspecting prey. Commander Yexmore watched the human cargo ship through his main screen. The bone cleaver was now close enough to see every dent and patch on the old vessel's hull. His weapon system showed full charge and ready to fire. This would be over in seconds. Look at that piece of junk, laughed his weapons officer. I've seen space debris in better condition. The humans must be desperate to fly something like that, added the scanner operator. I'm reading minimal shields, old engines, and maybe 2 small defense guns. This isn't even worth our time. Yexmore nodded. He had fought in 12 major battles and destroyed over 40 enemy ships. This human cargo hauler would barely count as target practice. Charge the plasma cannons to 20% power. We want to disable them, not vaporize them completely. Dead slaves are worthless. The Vorthak had been enslaving weaker races for decades. Humans would make decent workers once they were properly broken. They seemed smart enough to be useful but weak enough to control easily. Sir, the human ship is changing, the scanner operator said, confusion in his voice. On the main screen, the Soul's Pride was transforming before their eyes. Panels that looked like old repairs were sliding away to reveal gleaming metal underneath. What they thought were cargo containers were folding back into the hull. Gun turrets rose from hidden compartments. Shield generators emerged from concealed housings. What in the void? Yexmore whispered. The ship that had looked like floating junk moments before was now clearly a warship. Its hull was sleek and deadly, covered in weapon systems that definitely weren't on any cargo vessel. Energy readings spiked as powerful systems came online. Sir, energy signatures are off the charts. That's not a cargo ship. I can see that, Yexmore snarled. All weapons, full power. Destroy that ship now. But the humans were faster. On the bridge of the Soul's Pride, Captain Daewon sat calmly in his chair as his ship revealed its true form. Taemin, you may fire when ready. Taemin's fingers moved over his weapon controls with practiced skill. Target locked, all systems green. This is for everyone they've enslaved. The Soul's Pride opened fire. Twin beams of pure energy lanced out from the human ship. These weren't the simple laser weapons most species used. These were particle beam cannons that could cut through almost any armor. The beams struck the bone cleaver's shields and burned right through them like they weren't even there. Impossible, Yexmore shouted. Our shields should stop anything a cargo ship could carry, but this wasn't a cargo ship anymore. The Soul's Pride fired again, this time with a full spread of missiles. These weren't normal missiles either. They were smart weapons that learned and adapted as they flew. Each missile studied the Vorthak ship's defenses and adjusted its attack to find the weakest points. The first missile hit near the Bone Cleaver's engine section. The explosion tore a hole 20 feet wide in the armored hull. The second missile hit the weapon control center. The third took out the main power generator. Damage reports, Yexmore demanded. Engines offline. Weapons offline. Life support failing. Came the panicked replies from all stations. The human ship fired once more. This time, a single, precise beam cut straight through the Bone Cleaver's bridge section. The Vorthak destroyer broke apart in a shower of metal and fire. From first shot to final destruction, the entire battle had lasted 37 seconds. Admiral Krextel stared at his tactical display in complete shock. One of his destroyers had just been completely destroyed by a single human ship. Not damaged, not disabled. Completely obliterated. "Replay the sensor records," he ordered. His bridge crew watched in silence as the recordings showed the human ship's transformation and devastating attack. The weapons it had used were more advanced than anything in the Vorthak arsenal. "How is this possible?" Krextal's second-in-command asked. Intelligence reports said humans had primitive technology. Intelligence was wrong, Krextal growled. "Signal the fleet, battle alert, deploy Squadron 7 to deal with this threat." Squadron 7 consisted of 12 heavy cruisers, each one 3 times the size of the destroyed destroyer. Their combined firepower could level a small moon. Surely 12 ships would be enough to handle one human vessel, no matter how advanced. On the Soul's Pride, Bora monitored their systems after the brief fight. "All weapons functioning perfectly, Captain. Reactor output is stable. We use less than 5% of our maximum power." Wu Jin was listening to Vorthak communications. "They're sending a full squadron after us. 12 heavy cruisers, moving in attack formation." He-Jin checked her star charts. "I can plot an escape course, Captain. We could be out of sensor range in 10 minutes. Daewon shook his head. "No running. We have a job to do here." He turned to address his crew. "Remember why we're here. The Vorthak Empire has conquered 17 different species. Billions of beings are living as slaves because of them. Today we start evening the score." Taemin smiled grimly. 12 ships? That's almost a fair fight." "Almost," Daewon agreed. "Bora, bring the reactor to full combat power. Hyjin, plot intercept courses for all 12 targets. Wujin, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them the Soul's Pride is engaging the enemy." "What should I tell them about our chances?" Wujin asked. "Tell them we're exactly where we want to be." The approaching Vorthak squadron spread out into attack formation. Each heavy cruiser carried enough firepower to destroy a city. Their shields could withstand direct hits from capital ship weapons. Their armor was thick enough to stop most known weapons, but the humans had been studying Vorthak military tactics for years. Every battle record they could find had been analyzed. Every weakness had been identified. Every predictable movement had been catalogued. Captain Daewon had spent 3 years learning everything there was to know about Vorthak warfare. He knew how they moved, how they thought, and most importantly, how they could be beaten. "Squadron approaching," He-Jin reported. "They're using formation Delta 7, just like our intelligence predicted." "Of course they are," Daewon said. "They're following their manual exactly. Taemin, prepare the adaptive missiles, full spread, maximum yield." "Captain," Bora said quietly, "the reactor is putting out more power than we've ever used before. The weapon systems are charged beyond normal parameters." "Good. We're going to need every advantage we can get." The 12 Vorthak cruisers moved into position around the human ship. From their perspective, they had the enemy surrounded and outnumbered. Victory seemed certain. They had no idea that the Soul's Pride was equipped with technology that made their weapons look like stone clubs. They didn't know that humans had been fighting wars against each other for thousands of years, learning lessons in combat that most peaceful species never needed to learn. Most importantly, they didn't understand that sometimes the most dangerous enemy was the one that looked weakest. "All ships in position," the squadron commander reported to Admiral Krextal. The human vessel is surrounded. We're ready to attack. Destroy it, Krextall ordered. I want nothing left but debris. All ships open fire, the squadron commander ordered. 12 heavy cruisers unleashed their full firepower at once. Plasma cannons, missile batteries, and energy beams all converged on the single human ship. The amount of destructive force was enough to crack a small asteroid, but when the light faded and the energy cleared, the Soul's Pride was still there. Not only was it undamaged, it had moved to a completely different position. How did it? The squadron commander began. He never finished the sentence. The human ship had fired back. The Vorthak Third Fleet spread out across space like a massive net. 374 warships moved in perfect formation, their sensors sweeping every inch of empty space. They were hunting for one small human ship that had simply vanished. Admiral Krextall stood on his flagship's bridge, watching the search pattern on his tactical display. His ships covered an area the size of a small moon, but there was no sign of their target anywhere. "Report," he demanded. "No contact, Admiral," his sensor chief replied nervously. "The human ship has completely disappeared. It's like it never existed." "Ships don't just disappear," Krextall roared. "Keep scanning." But the Soul's Pride was closer than they thought, much closer. The human ship drifted silently just 2 miles away from the Vorthak flagship, completely invisible to their sensors. Its advanced stealth system bent light and energy around the hull, making it a ghost in space. On the bridge, Captain Daewon watched the enemy fleet through his screens. "They're searching in all the wrong places," he said quietly. "Wu Jin, are you ready to broadcast our message?" Wu Jin nodded. "All channels open, Captain. The entire galaxy will hear this." "Good. It's time the Vorthak learned about human history." The broadcast began. Wu Jin's voice carried across space to every ship in the Vorthak fleet and beyond to listening posts throughout the galaxy. But he wasn't speaking his own words. He was reading from Earth's greatest military leaders and strategists. "Know your enemy and know yourself," Wu Jin began, quoting the ancient Chinese general Sun Tzu. "In 100 battles you will never be defeated. The Vorthak Empire thinks it knows humanity. You think we are weak because we seek peace. You think we are helpless because we prefer trade to war." On the Vorthak ships, crews listened in confusion and growing fear. The human voice continued, calm and steady. "You are wrong. We come from a world where war was perfected over thousands of years. Every human child learns about warriors who held mountain passes against impossible odds. We tell stories of small armies that defeated enemies 10 times their size through courage and clever planning." Daewon smiled as he listened. Earth's military history was humanity's greatest teacher. While other species had lived in peace for centuries, humans had spent millennia learning how to fight. Every mistake had been studied. Every victory had been analyzed. Every defeat had taught valuable lessons. "The Battle of Thermopylae," Wu Jin continued. 300 Spartans held a narrow pass against 200,000 Persian soldiers. They knew they would die, but they fought anyway. David and Goliath, a shepherd boy with a simple stone, defeated a giant warrior. The Winter War, finish. Soldiers in the snow stopped an invasion by the massive Soviet army. As the broadcast continued, the Soul's Pride began its hunt. The ship moved through the Vorthak fleet like a phantom, striking without warning and vanishing before anyone could respond. The first target was a supply ship carrying ammunition for the fleet. Taemin fired a single missile that slipped through the vessel's defenses and found its fuel storage. The explosion was visible from 50 miles away and destroyed 3 nearby escort ships. "Supply convoy under attack," came the panicked radio call. "Enemy contact lost." Before Admiral Krextall could respond, another ship exploded on the far side of the fleet. Then another. The Soul's Pride was everywhere and nowhere, hitting targets and disappearing like smoke. "The supreme excellence is to subdue the enemy without fighting," Wu Jin's broadcast continued. "But when you must fight, strike like lightning and vanish like mist." The Vorthak crews were becoming terrified. They couldn't see their enemy. They couldn't predict where it would strike next. Every few minutes, Another ship would explode or lose power, but no one ever saw the attacker. Jin guided the Soul's Pride through the enemy formation with perfect precision. Her enhanced mind could track the movement of every Vorthak ship and predict where they would be minutes before they got there. She found blind spots in their sensor coverage and gaps in their defensive patterns. Communications relay ship 2, starboard, she reported. Isolated from the main group. Target confirmed, Taemin said. Firing gravity lance. The weapon hit the communications ship and crushed it like an empty can. Suddenly, half the Vorthak fleet couldn't talk to the other, half. Orders became confused. Ships started firing at shadows, afraid they might be under attack. When your enemy is angry, make him angrier, Wu Jin quoted another ancient strategist. When he is confused, increase his confusion. When he is afraid, feed his fear. Bo-Ra monitored their exotic matter reactor as it powered the ship's incredible weapons. All systems green, Captain. We're operating at 40% capacity, still plenty of power left. The hunt continued for hours. The Soul's Pride struck command ships, supply vessels, and isolated escorts. Each attack was perfectly planned to cause maximum damage and confusion. The Vorthak fleet began to fall apart as captains started ignoring orders and making their own decisions. Some ships tried to retreat only to find the human vessel waiting in their escape route. Others grouped together for mutual protection, making themselves perfect targets for the ship's area effect weapons. Sir, we've lost over 60 ships, Admiral Krextal's second-in-command reported. The crews are starting to panic. Some captains are requesting permission to withdraw. No retreat, Krextal snarled. We outnumber them 300 to 1. Find that ship and destroy it. But finding the Soul's Pride was impossible. The ship's stealth technology was beyond anything the Vorthak had ever seen. It could hide in plain sight, move without being detected, and strike from any direction. All warfare is based on deception, the broadcast continued. Therefore, when capable, pretend to be incapable. When active, pretend to be inactive. When near, pretend to be far. When far, pretend to be near. Captain Daewon watched the tactical display as another Vorthak cruiser went dark. His crew was performing perfectly. Every system worked exactly as designed. Every attack hit its target. Every retreat left the enemy more confused and frightened. They're starting to break, he observed. Look at their formation. Ships are pulling back, ignoring orders, firing at ghosts. Fear is their enemy now, not just us. Taemin lined up another shot, targeting their fleet repair ship. Without it, they can't fix damage from our attacks. Fire when ready. The repair ship exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the surrounding space. Now, any Vorthak vessel that took damage would stay damaged. The fleet was slowly bleeding to death. The clever combatant looks to the effect of combined energy. Wu Jin's voice carried across space. He does not require each individual soldier to be perfect. He makes it possible for his forces to work together as one perfect machine. The Soul's Pride crew was exactly that, a perfect machine. Each member knew their job completely. They worked together without needing to speak. Years of training and preparation had made them into something greater than the sum of their parts. Captain, Hyojin said quietly, I'm detecting panic in their communications. Some ships are trying to flee, others are requesting immediate evacuation. Their morale is completely broken. Daewon nodded. Then it's time for the final phase. Bo-Ra, bring the main weapon online. It's time to cut the head off this snake. Deep in the ship's core, the gravity distortion cannon began to charge. This weapon was humanity's most closely guarded secret, a device that could bend space and time itself. It was dangerous, experimental, and absolutely devastating. Main weapon charging, Bo-Ra reported. Target selection? Daewon studied the enemy formation until he found what he was looking for. Admiral Krextal's flagship sat in the center of the fleet, a massive dreadnought bristling with weapons and armor. It was the symbol of Vorthak power and the heart of their command structure. Target the flagship, Daewon ordered. One shot. Make it count. Target locked, Taemin confirmed. Gravity cannon at full charge. Ready to fire on your command. The moment had come. The hunt was ending. Soon the entire galaxy would know that humanity was no longer hiding in the shadows. The gravity distortion cannon hummed with barely controlled power. Deep inside the soul's pride, exotic matter swirled in patterns that bent the laws of physics. This weapon could tear holes in space itself, creating destruction beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Captain Day Wan stared at the massive Vorthak flagship on his screen. The Dominion's fist was over 3 miles long, covered in thick armor and powerful shields. It was the pride of the Vorthak Empire, commanded by Admiral Krextel himself. "Weapon fully charged, Captain," Bora reported. "All safety systems disengaged. One shot will drain 30% of our reactor power." "Target confirmed," Taemin added. "The flagship is holding position in the center of their formation." "Perfect shot." Daewon took a deep breath. This moment would change everything. The galaxy would never be the same after today. "For every species the Vorthak have enslaved," he said quietly. "For every world they have conquered. For everyone who died fighting for freedom. Fire." Taemin pressed the firing control. Space itself screamed. The gravity cannon didn't fire a projectile or energy beam. Instead, it reached out and grabbed the fabric of reality, twisting it into an impossible knot. Around the Vorthak flagship, the laws of physics simply stopped working correctly. Time slowed down near the Dominion's fist. Gravity became a crushing weight that pressed inward from all directions. Space folded in on itself like paper being crumpled by an invisible hand. The massive dreadnought tried to escape, its engines firing at full power. But how do you run from something that bends space itself? The ship's hull began to warp and twist as gravitational forces pulled it in different directions. "Impossible," Admiral Krextal whispered as his bridge started to collapse around him. "What kind of weapon is this?" The answer was simple. A weapon built by a species that had never stopped learning how to fight. Humans had taken ancient alien technology and improved it beyond recognition. They had created something that could reshape reality itself. The Dominion's fist imploded. 3 miles of the most advanced warship in the Vorthak fleet compressed into a ball of twisted metal, bigger than a house. The gravitational waves from the weapon's impact spread outward, damaging dozens of nearby ships and sending shockwaves through the entire fleet. Admiral Krextal died instantly, along with his entire crew of 5,000 warriors. The symbol of Vorthak power was gone, erased from existence in a matter of seconds. "Direct hit," Taemin reported calmly. "Target completely destroyed." Across the battlefield, Vorthak crews stared in horror at the empty space where their flagship had been. Their greatest ship, their strongest leader, their most powerful symbol, all gone in an instant. "This is impossible," one captain whispered. "Nothing can destroy the Dominion's fist." But it was gone. And the small human ship responsible was still out there, invisible and deadly. Panic spread through the remaining fleet like wildfire. Some ships tried to retreat immediately. Others opened fire randomly into empty space, hoping to hit the hidden enemy. A few simply shut down their systems and waited for death. Captain Daewon watched the chaos on his tactical display. "Hyajin, bring us out of stealth. It's time they saw us." The soul's pride shimmered back into visibility, appearing like a ghost materializing from thin air. Compared to the massive Vorthak warships around it, the human vessel looked tiny. But size didn't matter anymore. Everyone in the fleet knew what this small ship could do. "Wujin, open a channel to all remaining Vorthak ships," Daewon ordered. "Channel open, Captain." Daewon's voice carried across space to every surviving ship in the fleet. His words were calm and steady, more terrifying than any shout or threat. "This is Captain Daewon of the Terran Defense Force vessel Soul's Pride. In the past 6 hours, your third fleet has been reduced from 400 ships to less than 300. Your flagship is destroyed. Your admiral is dead. Your supply lines are cut, and your morale is broken." On the bridge of every Vorthak ship, crews listened in stunned silence. Some had never heard a human voice before. They had expected humans to sound weak or frightened. Instead, this man sounded like death itself. You came here expecting to find prey, Day One continued. Instead, you found predators. You thought humans were weak because we prefer peace. You were wrong. We are not weak. We are patient. There is a difference. Wu Jin smiled as he broadcast the message. The captain's words were being heard not just by the Vorthak fleet, but by listening posts throughout the galaxy. Every species would know what happened here today. For the past 50 years, humans have been exploring the galaxy peacefully. We sent traders and diplomats while you sent armies. We offered friendship while you offered conquest. You mistook our kindness for weakness. Today, you learn the truth. The remaining Vorthak ships began to pull back, creating distance between themselves and the small human vessel. Fear had completely replaced their earlier confidence. We know your history. Vorthak Empire. 17 species conquered, billions enslaved, countless worlds stripped of their resources. You built your power on the suffering of others. Today, that ends. Captain Day One paused, letting his words sink in. Around the battlefield, Vorthak crews waited for what would come next. This ship you see before you is not alone. While you were building fleets to conquer the weak, we were building guardians to protect the innocent. Right now, ships like this one are positioned throughout your empire. They have been watching, waiting, learning. It was true. The Soul's Pride was part of a secret network of human warships hidden throughout the galaxy. While Earth's diplomats spoke of peace, Earth's military prepared for war. They had learned from humanity's own violent history that peace could only be maintained by those willing to fight for it. Return to your empire, Day One commanded. Tell them what you saw here. Tell them that humanity will not be conquered, enslaved, or threatened. We have spent our entire history fighting wars against ourselves. Fighting you is almost relaxing by comparison. Hyjin activated a quantum communicator, and dozens of signals responded from across the star system. Hidden human ships revealed themselves one by one, their stealth fields dropping to show their positions. The Vorthak suddenly realized they were completely surrounded. You see now that you never had a chance, Day One said. We let you approach because we wanted you to see this. We wanted you to understand. Humanity is not your prey. We are not your victims. We are your replacement. The broadcast ended, leaving the Vorthak fleet in stunned silence. Slowly, carefully, the surviving ships began to retreat. No one wanted to be the next to test the human weapons. Captain Day One turned to his crew. Well done, everyone. Mission accomplished. Bora checked their systems. Reactor stable, weapons powered down. We're ready for the journey home. Taman looked at the retreating enemy ships. Think they'll learn their lesson? Some will, Day One replied. Others won't. That's why we'll be waiting for them. The Soul's Pride turned toward Earth, leaving behind a debris field that had once been the pride of the Vorthak Empire. The message had been sent. Humanity was no longer hiding in the shadows of the galaxy. As the human ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, Wu Jin sent one final transmission to Earth Command. Mission complete. The galaxy knows we're here. The age of human exploration was over. The age of human protection had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.